Jubal's second date update.
I'll admit I've been drunk on a few dates in my time.
A few?
And it's always fun when you get really hammered and you like try to pick a fight with the waiter because you think he looked at you funny and they're kicking you out. You're like, I'm not that drunk. You can't kick me out of this place.
That sounds fun.
It's kind of what happened to Bethany, who's on the phone with us right now. She got hammered on her first date.
Bethany.
Isn't that right, Bethany?
No, I did not get drunk. That's the whole point.
Yeah, right. I was reading your email. It sounds like you got wasted.
Stop. I did not get drunk.
Yeah, right. But you sound drunk right now, Bethany. I'm not going to lie.
No, I'm just a happy person.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you a little bit about your date. First of all, who's the guy that you want us to call today?
His name is Robert.
Robert, okay. And what did Robert think about you getting absolutely faced?
I did not get drunk, okay?
All right.
We went wine tasting, and I mean, yes, I did swallow a couple of sips of wine.
Thank you for finishing that sentence.
Right. Well, your email said that you think he might have thought you were drunk, and that's why he's not calling you back.
Yeah, because I got this, like, rampant case of the hiccups, and I could not get rid of them. I was trying to hold my breath, and I kept hiccuping, and I started laughing.
That sucks whenever you, even if you're drinking or not, just when you can't get rid of the hiccups. And that would be embarrassing on a first date.
Yeah. I mean, and we were in this, like, quiet room with a bunch of people, learning about these wines. And
oh, yeah. I didn't even think about the fact that you were wine tasting. So you got a bunch of snooty, oh, I can taste, this one tastes very nutty. Meanwhile, you're in the corner hiccuping, throwing down glasses of wine, looking like the drunk in the room.
And I, like I said, I was giggling because, like, once you like, have that giggle bug and you cannot shake it, and then you're hiccuping on top of it, I was just, like, a crazy person.
Was he laughing with you, though? Because, I mean, it sounds like a funny situation.
At first, he was like, oh, my God, I can't believe, you have the hiccups, and, like, it was kind of a silly thing, but they would not go away. And I think that by the end of it, he thought that I was, like, really drunk. I mean, if you had seen, like, these sips of wine, like, there's no way, even if I had drank all of them, that I would have been that wasted.
Up until the point when your hiccups started, how was everything going?
Great. I mean, he was just such a gentleman and very sweet. He's, like, exactly my type.
All right, what else happened on the date?
The crazy thing is, the whole time I had these hiccups, and then we were asked to leave.
What?
No way.
Yeah, like, the instructor was like, I'm sorry, because, you can't, like, be obnoxious and drunk, but I wasn't.
Are you lying to us about the drunk part? Are you sure you weren't wasted?
No, I wasn't wasted. No, not at all.
So they kicked you out of the wine tasting thinking that you were hammered.
When he actually said, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, it was the most humiliating thing. I mean, there have been times in my life where, like, I have been tipsy and I have been a little wild. I have never gotten asked to leave.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
That's the worst part. When you get kicked out of somewhere and you're not drunk. I've been kicked out of a place because they're like, hey, you were grabbing girls on the butt. And I was like, no, I actually wasn't. For once in my life, I wasn't doing that.
I
was like, if you want to send me back in there, I will grab somebody on the butt so you can kick me out. It's worse when you haven't actually done something wrong and they kick you out.
Yeah, and I was trying to reason with the guy almost like, don't you see how this is, like, the most ridiculous situation? But he was just, like, very serious. Like, I take cheese and wine very seriously.
So they kicked you out of the wine tasting thinking that you were hammered. And what did he do after that?
It was kind of awkward because once we left, like, I didn't have hiccups anymore. So it was like, well, we could have gone back in, but then we couldn't because they kicked us out. So he was just, like, thoroughly annoyed. And I could tell. But I was just kind of, like, trying to blow it off, like, oh, man, like, what are the chances?
And how did everything end with him after your date was done? Did he say that he wanted to go out again?
No, I kind of gave it this, like, oh, man, how about we, like, give it another shot, like, just trying to blow it off. But he couldn't get out of there faster.
Oh.
So when we get him on the phone for your second date update, do you think that he's going to be open to going on another date with you?
I think if I can actually get through to him the honest truth that I was not drunk.
Okay.
I mean, I'm serious when I say, like, I get the hiccups. Like, if I eat spicy food, I'll get the hiccups. But it's not like, usually they'll go away.
So you need our help in pointing out to him that she actually wasn't drunk.
Right. Yes, please.
Have you tried to explain to him since your date?
I sent him a couple texts that I didn't want to look like a crazy person.
And did he respond to anything?
No, he didn't.
You haven't heard a word from him.
No, I haven't since that night, since our parting hug.
All right.
Oh,
So he's
yeah.
obviously didn't like something about your date.
No, he didn't.
Okay. Well, play a song, come back, get him on the phone, and get your second date update, all right?
Okay, great.
All right, hang on.
Moving 92.5. Brooke and Jubal in the mornings. Second date update.
The goal of today's second date update is to call a guy and convince him that his date wasn't absolutely hammered during their first date. Bethany, you about ready to give him a call?
Yes, I am.
All right, here's my advice to you. Before we make the phone call, get hammered right now.
Yeah.
Get as drunk as you possibly can. That way, when we get him on the phone, I can be like, see, this is how she sounds drunk. She wasn't drunk on your first date.
Well, don't you think that would decrease my credibility significantly?
It could, but it'd be fun for me.
That's all that matters.
If you're just tuning in, Bethany wants us to call this guy named Robert. They met online. They went to a wine and cheese tasting. She got a fit of hiccups like halfway into the thing, and they ended up getting kicked out because the guy who was running it thought she might be drunk, and now she thinks that Robert isn't calling her back because she got hammered on their first date. So our goal is to call, get him on the phone, and convince him that you aren't a drunk mess. Are you ready to go, Bethany?
I am ready.
All right.
It's kind of ironic how a drunk mess is calling to convince somebody else. That
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You
Takes
called the right
one to
place.
know one.
If there's anybody that have had to do a lot of damage control after being drunk, it is me. So you called the right place, Bethany. All right, I'm going to dial the phone number right now, see if we can get him on the phone and hopefully get you a second date.
Great.
Hello?
Hi, can I speak to Robert, please?
Yeah, this is Robert.
Hey, Robert, how you doing? This is Jubal from Brooke and Jubal in the Morning.
Sorry, from where?
Brooke and Jubal in the Morning, the radio show? You are obviously a big-time listener, I can tell.
He's a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, not at all, are you, Robert? Robert, we do a radio show in the morning from 6 to 10 every morning, Moving 92.5, and we recently got an email about you from one of our listeners.
All right.
Her name is Bethany. She told us about your date and also told us that you haven't been returning any of her phone calls after your date. So we said, hey, why not let us call Robert, see if we can get him on the phone and find out if you did something wrong.
Okay. That's weird.
I know it's kind of weird. Bethany did tell us that she thinks you might have thought that she was hammered. She told us about the hiccups, said that she got like a fit of laughter because of the hiccups, and then told us that you guys got kicked out of the wine tasting class because they thought she was drunk. Is that why you're not calling her back?
I mean, she was definitely tipsy. There's no question about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, none of that was good, but, you know, in between the jugs of wine she was drinking, she leaned over to me and said, the instructor reminds me of my ex-boyfriend.
Oh.
Oh, no.
All right.
That's
Talking
never
about your
cool,
ex
dude.
during a first date.
No.
Talking about your ex during any date kind of sucks.
Yeah.
That's understandable,
It kind
Robert.
of sucked, but the weird part was the instructor was like 65 years old.
Really?
That is kind of a
Yeah.
funny thing.
I know. Yeah, you're like, what? You dating a 65-year-old? What did? How does that guy remind her of her ex?
I didn't know if I should even ask, you know, or even get into it, but this guy was wearing bifocals. He had a receding hairline.
You're like, so.
I said, what makes this guy remind you of your ex-boyfriend? And, I mean, this guy had a receding hairline, a pot belly. He wore bifocals.
Yeah.
And
Did she? You think she had like beer goggles on? And she's like, that guy is hot.
That Ben Franklin one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't even know if I should even get into it any further, but she said my ex-boyfriend was 65.
Holy
She
cow.
dated a 65-year-old?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
She left that out of her story, Robert.
Yeah.
How old is Bethany? Because Bethany sounds like she's a lot younger than
Yeah.
65.
I think she's 28 or something.
Jeez.
But the
I'm
same vein, I mean, you got to, like, how are you judging somebody based on their ex? I get, like, bringing him up, but how does that affect you?
Well, it made me wonder, why is she on a date with me when she's had relationships with guys twice my age?
Yeah. Robert, why don't we ask her that? Because she's actually on the line listening.
Oh my gosh, you really, like, that was why you didn't call me back, was because you thought my ex-boyfriend was too old for me? I mean,
that was the turning point for me.
But it has nothing to do with you. I mean, I was there with you. Obviously, like, I'm not dating that person anymore, and we were having a good time before we got kicked out of the thing.
You're 28. I just didn't understand why you would even date someone twice your age. Just really weirded me out.
Well, it just happened. It wasn't like I set out to start dating older men. He was like a friend of the family, kind of.
That's worse.
So, like, Harrison Ford is, like, handsome, no matter how old he is. I didn't ask you about any of your exes because it didn't matter to me.
Yeah, and Robert, don't you have some crazy, stupid people that you've dated in your past that I'm sure if she found out about, she could judge you for?
I suppose, but they certainly were in my age range. So.
Yeah, none of them were about to collect Social Security.
I mean, also, Bethany, you got to think you offered up that information. He wasn't necessarily asking.
Well, I guess I did, but it was just like a funny thing. Like, I was already laughing. I was already like,
Totally.
It was kind of like the instructor was like getting mad at us and like looking like over his glasses at me, and I was like kind of like that. Ooh, he reminds me of my ex.
Oh my God.
See, that's gross. I don't want to be thinking about 65-year-old dudes with walking canes and bifocals.
It wasn't like that. Like I said, he was just older, and I liked him, and I liked you, and so what's the problem?
Older is, maybe 40. I mean, I can understand that, but this guy was getting near retirement age. I mean, this guy is probably playing bingo on Wednesday nights or something. I don't know.
Oh my God, I can't even. You have no idea. Age is just a number. It's just a, I like you, so it doesn't even matter.
Look, okay, I'm sorry. I can't help how I feel. I can't go out with a girl and, every time I look at her, I'm thinking of some old guy, some crotchety old guy.
Well, you don't. I mean, that's your thing. If you're into old men, that's fine, But I choose the person. And besides, only old people go to wine and cheese things anyway. FYI. And have a good time. And you're being rude and judging. So you did me a favor.
All right, fine by me. Good luck with your early bird specials.
I'm guessing that you guys don't want to go out on a second date based on that little conversation right there, but I still have to ask. Robert, would you like to go out with Bethany on a second date? I will pay for it.
No.
Okay. Bethany, would you still like to go out with Robert?
No, I'm going to find someone less judgy and a little more in my maturity range.
Yeah. Start right now. Here, the Elks Lodge has a bunch of dudes.
Oh, yeah.
you could hang out with.
Brooke and Jubal in the morning.